Today I'm going to make honey glazed tarragon chicken. This is a great batch recipe that you can keep in your freezer for quick weeknight meals. This is everything you need for one 4-serving batch. If you want to double or triple the recipe, just double or triple the ingredients. If you want the details for this recipe, check out the link in the description box. For this recipe I'm using bone-in skinless chicken breasts. You can also use boneless skinless chicken breasts, but I think that the bone helps keep the chicken moist and add some depth of flavor. I'm also using salt and pepper. I have some flour to make a slurry for the gravy. I went ahead and put it in the mason jar, so when the time comes I just need to add water, put the lid on, and shake it up. I'm using this organic Better Than Bouillon chicken base. I usually like to use homemade chicken stock, but when I'm freezing things I try to keep things as concentrated as possible so I'm not filling my freezer up with water. I use this organic Better Than Bouillon brand because it's dairy free and that's important to me. If it's not important to you, you can use any kind of chicken stock, chicken base, or chicken bouillon powder. I'm also using tarragon leaves and some honey. To cook the chicken, I'm going to use my pressure cooker. You can also bake this in the oven. Just cover it and bake it for about an hour until the chicken's cooked through. I'm just seasoning the chicken with salt and pepper and liberally sprinkling it with the tarragon leaves. You can use fresh tarragon, I just have some dried tarragon here. I'm making a triple batch, so I have 3 of the large chicken breasts in my pot here. Then I'm going to add about a cup of water. That's what the manufacturer of my pressure cooker recommends cooking with. If you're using a pressure cooker, you'll want to use the directions that comes with the pressure cooker. If you're baking it in the oven, you probably only need about a half a cup, and make sure you cover the chicken. You want to capture all of the juices that will come out of it. So then I just seal this up and I'll pressure cook it until the chicken is done. Once your chicken's done cooking, just take it out and let it cool so that you can handle it. These were pretty big. They ended up cooking about 25 minutes under 16 pounds of pressure. I could have slashed with a knife, just put some gashes in them. That would have made them cook faster, but the pressure cooker does a pretty good job of making quick work of it. While the chicken's cooling, we can work on the gravy. This is the liquid that the chicken was cooking in. I strained it into this smaller pot just so that it would be easier to see, but you could definitely just use the same pot. And in this, I'm going to add the chicken base and the honey. And just stir it up to dissolve the honey. Once the chicken is cool enough to handle, I just removed the bones and I broke it up into large pieces. You can shred this as finely as you want, but if you're going to freeze this for later, I recommend leaving the pieces in larger chunks because when you finish cooking it, it'll break down a little bit more. When you're ready to pack this up for the freezer, I took 1/3 of this because this was a triple batch and just pack it down into a container. You want to press it down to remove as much air as possible. And then top it off with that cooking liquid that we added the honey and the chicken stock to, and that will help seal out any freezer burn. So I put the lid on it, I put the date, I labeled what it is, and I added the extra instructions, and now this is ready to go in the freezer. When you're ready to finish this recipe, you just take your container out of the freezer and let it thaw in the refrigerator overnight, put it in a pot, and bring it to a simmer. Once it's simmering, you'll just stir in your flour water slurry and let it simmer for about 5 minutes till everything's warmed through and the gravy's thickened. If you want finer shreds, you can use your spoon and break up the chicken just a little bit more. After it's simmered for about 5 minutes, you'll want to taste it for salt, and dinner's done. You have a delicious tangle of shredded chicken in a sweet and savory gravy. You can serve this over a bed of brown rice or buttered noodles. It's even good on toasted bread as a hot open-faced sandwich. hope you give this recipe a try.